Hey, how's it going? I'm Matt, welcome back, and today we are doing some recording stuff. Or I guess it's mixing stuff. Yeah, it's mixing stuff. You may have noticed this guy here. This is my new Zoom H5, so I can record clean audio for these videos because the thing I was using before, it's not great. Hopefully my production value will go up a little bit from this. If you want to hear about this new guy, write in the comments if you want to see a video about the Zoom H5 handy recorder. Anyways, what we're talking about today is something that keeps coming up with new products that keep coming out that are expensive all the time, or there are some that are inexpensive, but the concept is something that I keep seeing come up, and it's analog summing. Summing is the part in the mixdown process where all of your individual tracks funnel into the main out 2-track, or just any funneling of several tracks into one place. The sum of all that audio in some output. In most cases with mixing, it's all your individual tracks being summed into the master left-right output. If you're working in a digital audio workstation like Ableton, Logic, Pro Tools, whatever, the software does this summing for you. It just takes all your individual tracks and pre-routes them, unless you've changed it in some way, it routes them to the output, the master track, the master fader, whatever it's called in your software. The way this used to be done was on analog gear, where all the faders on a mixer fed to the output fader. So it was one fader that was just where everything led to. It's not anything crazy, but it's something that I guess there's a lot of debate about in the audio world lately. I've seen so many videos come up, so I figured I'd do my own. The thing I'm interested in is it any different to do it with analog gear than digital gear? And I mean, obviously, yes, it's literally different. There's an algorithm doing it, or there's an analog way that the audio is being routed, and the actual signal is moving through the circuits or whatever. I'm not an electronics guy. Either way, it's either being done digitally or in an analog setting. It just really comes down to analog or digital. Is one better? Probably not. It's just going to be what you prefer, but is there a difference? That's what I'm most curious about. And I don't have a lot of expensive gear. I don't have a big board to do this with, nor do I have a purpose-built analog summing device. But what I do have is I have a Soundcraft multi-track mixer, which also has a USB interface. The device is the Soundcraft Signature 12 multi-track. What this thing allows you to do is you can route audio to and from it as a multi-track device. So what I can do is take individual tracks and route them to certain faders on the mixer. So what I've done is I've taken a beat that I made in Ableton. This beat has 8 individual tracks of audio that are all their own track in Ableton. This beat has 8 individual tracks of audio that are all their own track in Ableton. What I'm going to do is sum them in an analog setting. I'm going to use the external output options in Ableton to make groups of these tracks. I'm going to send them to the mixer, and then I'm going to record back into Ableton the main output of the mixer. What the mixer is going to do is sum these multiple audio signals back into a 2-track left-right mix. I'm going to record that back in Ableton. I have done nothing else to the mix. I have not changed any volumes. What I'm going to do is just record that one, and then I'm going to export it out. And then what I'm going to do is export out a separate copy that has not been summed in the mixer, just the regular way that Ableton sums the audio and exports it. And we're going to see if there's any kind of difference. Does it matter? Does it add something? Does it add some mystical, magical, analog warmth or character? Maybe it does. And just to be clear, this is not a super expensive piece of gear. This is, I think, a $600 mixer when it was new. I don't know what difference this is going to make, if any, but we're going to see. So what I've done is I've looked at the different elements that are in this mix. Like a lot of my beats, this one is just kind of a sample and some drums and an 808. The way I've grouped out the tracks into the mixer is that I've taken the sample and sent it to outputs 1 and 2, which is the first 2 faders on the mixer. The next 2 faders on the mixer, which is outputs 3 and 4, are receiving the 808 and 2 different kick drums. Outputs 5 and 6 are receiving everything else. So that is a hi-hat, open hi-hat, a clap sound and a little vocal sample that's also in the beat. I have the sample, which is the melodic component of the song. I have the kicks and the 808s, that's all of that low frequency punchiness stuff. And then I have all the high-end and textural elements are all in outputs 5 and 6. I have each of those couples of faders, which are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, all panned left and right, and they are all feeding the master output. Then I have another track in Ableton that is receiving the audio from that master output, and that's going to be the analog summed version of this beat mix. Here is the Soundcraft Signature 12 multi-track mixer. Everything is coming in and out of the computer from this USB cable. The audio comes from the computer to the mixer after the gain stage. Then it passes through the EQ stage, which we're not going to engage on any of these tracks. Then there are the aux outputs, which we are also not going to use for these tracks. Then we have the pan options, which again are left and right, left and right, left and right. And then I have all of these faders at unity gain, which means that it's not adding or reducing any level of the track. And then those are being sent out to the master fader, which is also at unity gain, and that is the signal that is going back out through the USB back into Ableton. We have the sample here, which is going to external out 1 and 2, first two faders. Then we have the 808, the kick, and the other kick. So the two kicks and the 808, we are going to outs 3 and 4. Then everything else, the closed hat, open hat, clap, and the vocal sample are all feeding outputs 5 and 6. Then we have our last track, the analog sum track, whose input is 1314, which is the master output of the Soundcraft mixer. All faders are set to unity gain, nothing has received any boost or cut, and it's all going to be recorded back into Ableton on this analog sum track. Now I'm going to record it, and we're going to see what happens. Okay, so I've stopped the recording because one thing I've noticed is that it comes in very quiet. Now this is probably something to do with the Soundcraft mixer rather than anything else in Ableton. I don't really know why it does that, but I've now boosted the output of the Soundcraft mixer by a little over 5 dB just on the output fader, because for whatever reason it's coming back into Ableton very quiet. So I boosted it a little bit just to get a little more signal and get a little stronger of a signal coming back into Ableton. So now I'm going to record it in again. So now it's recording at a little healthier of a signal. This is the part where I kind of monitor and also kind of just look at my phone. So it's still a little quiet. I'm going to match the audio up afterwards for you guys. This is the part where you just drink a little water. Keep an eye on your levels. Keep an eye on your gain staging. Think about life. And that's that. That's been recorded out. Now we can see here in Ableton we have the full analog summed track. So I've removed the master bus processing from this. I bypassed it. I'm going to do the same thing with the other version that we're going to do. I'm going to export both of them, and we're going to listen back and see what difference there is. So, it's done. I've exported both versions of the track. One of them summed digitally, one of them summed analogically. That can't be right. One of them was summed through digital means, one of them was summed through analog means. So I did have to re-record the analog one. Turns out I had the input monitoring on it, so it recorded with a weird echo. So I redid that. I exported them both, no master processing. The digital sum did come out louder. So what I've done now is I've taken them both, I've put them both in Logic just for playback, and just so I can match the levels. The digital summed track has been pulled down 7.4 decibels, which is weird because I did boost the other one going in just to try to get the levels right. So let's, I'm just gonna go ahead and get this out of the way. This probably is done wrong or weird. I think it has something to do with going in and out through the USB on the Soundcraft mixer. The levels came out weird. The levels came out, just the level coming back in. Everything was a Unity gain. Why would it come in low? Why would I have to boost it going back in? If you have one of these Soundcraft mixers, let me know. Or if you see some glaring issue that I missed, let me know. But I don't see why that would happen. But I've tried to match them so that we can play back, we can listen to them, and we can see what the differences are. I'm also going to link these in some way. I'm not sure how yet, but I will link the audio files so that you can listen to these outside of the YouTube compression. Here is a listen through of the digitally summed track. Now we are going to listen to the track that was summed through the mixing board. That was the beat, the two different ways that we summed it. Do they sound different? Does one sound better? What do you think? Put it in the comments. Now, this may be because of the gear that was used. I don't really like how the mixer sounds as much as the digital one. This is just a regular mixer. This isn't an analog summing purpose-built device. To me, the highs in the analog one sound a little harsher. The digital one sounds a little more rounded out. I'm listening to them at the same volume. I'm not perceiving louder as better. They're the same thing. I prefer the digital one. In this case, to me, digital wins. It's also easier. It's less routing and sending back and forth, and you can just export it right out, and it's easier for changes later. I'm not saying analog's bad. I think analog stuff can be great, but in this case, the way that this came out, the way that this one was done, I like the digital better. Let me know in the comments what you think. I think it's this mixer. Not to say you need better gear to do better things. It's all in how you use it. So maybe there's a way that I can use this better. Maybe I'll try this again in another video if I get some tips on maybe how to approach this better. So let me know in the comments what you think. Which one do you think is better? I will try to make a link for better quality versions of both of these tracks. Yeah, that is analog summing to a degree. That's one way of analog summing. Maybe it's the wrong way. Maybe I did something just dumb. So let me know what you think. Again, which one do you think is better? What do you like? Do you have a better way of doing this? Is there something that you think I could do differently? Let me know in the comments. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button. I put out content every Monday. If you want to see other content from me, you can follow me on Instagram at DirtBirdMusic, and I'm also on Twitch at DirtBird93. That's all I got for you this week. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you later.